All right, well, get this show on the road. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
Everybody's safe and secure.
Safe and sound.
Good. Obviously, you have electricity and internet.
It took a while, but yep.
It is amazing. I was no internet, no electricity, no water, and I have electricity and water, or electricity and internet, but no water. And it is amazing how much you realize how much you miss water.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like using the bathroom. It's like you have to look down and say, okay, is it flush worthy? I don't know.
Yeah.
I got to walk 72 steps downstairs, get in the car, drive to the communal pool just to get water so I can flush my toilet.
Yeah.
George, are you in Asheville?
Yeah, West
Oh,
Asheville. Luckily, West Asheville, so we were not in the flood zone. We're a higher up area.
Yeah.
But we were out of electricity for about a week and a half. Internet about the same amount of time. Water is probably going to be a couple more weeks yet.
Yeah.
But I know people who are still without all three. I know people who lost houses. I drove through an area, actually nearby the area, you can drive through it, and it looks like a war zone. The roads are just broken up, and it's amazing. There's building a place called Regeneration Station. I knew the owner before it passed, and the people who own it now. And one of the garage doors, the bottom two panels are just bent up because the water just it took it out.
Oh, I love that place. Oh, I hate to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a while, and I don't know how much stuff they had inside, but I would lay odds that almost all of it, if not all of it, is ruined.
Sure. Yeah. I did find out something that I never knew about. There's something called the hospital grid. If you're in Brevard, Hospital Drive, you know where the hospital is. I have friends that have a condo across the street, and they told me that they never lost electricity or water or anything. They're on city water, but they never lost anything because the hospital grid, Strauss Park is on the hospital grid, and either they have power even when other people don't, or they're the first to get power back. But there's a little shopping center there. There's a Go Grocery. There's a Marathon gas station. There's a fitness club. And there's an animal place, animal feed, Tractor Supply. Those people never even knew there was a problem.
Wow.
They had
wow.
absolutely everything they didn't have the internet, but they had electricity, they had water, and it's because this thing called the hospital grid, which I never knew existed. In
Wow.
fact, the people told me they bought specifically in Strauss Park because of that. So good to know for the future.
I'm in Deer Lake.
Yeah.
We never lost anything either, but I assumed it was because all the utilities are underground.
Yeah.
And
That helps.
the first hop off of 64 for the power lines is less than 100 feet long, and there are no trees around it, except there really aren't. And then it goes into the ground. So we didn't lose anything except the internet, but I've never been without the internet
Sure.
as long as I had since 1994. I mean, you talk about, yes, you depend on water, but unfortunately, it's a 21st century problem.
Yeah.
But I've got to where I just depend on it all the time.
Yeah. David, how did all your home stuff work?
Well, it all works.
You've got your doorbells and everything else, and
Yeah, anything that had to do with just the lights or the lock on the door or anything work fine because it's all self-contained in all the various devices, and within the HomePod and the HomePod network I have at home. I've got 3 or 4 around the house, so I didn't see any problems. Now we escaped to come to the beach. We had planned to come anyway,
all right.
but we escaped the day 2 days after the storm. We set out and found a way to get onto Interstate 26, but after we left, we had some folks, friends of fans, that needed a place to live. They were completely wiped out or blocked out of their house. So we let them stay in our place, and I turned off all of that stuff so they wouldn't go around messing up the lights and things by turning on the switch. That's the only downside about HomeKit is, or any of the home automation stuff. If you don't know what you're doing, it's going to take me a while to get everything back online when we get home. But anyway, I took it all off, and I was still able to access the doorbell camera and the lock on the front door from down here. So that worked out okay. But the new problems we face because of the technology.
Yeah. Well, and then in Asheville, they lost some towers. So cellular service was really bad.
We didn't have any cellular service.
The only thing that was missing was the squealing pig sound because it was like dial-up days.
Yeah, I remember those. No, we first time ever, no signal at all. From the Verizon towers, none.
Well, then Verizon in the middle of all this had a national outage.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that happened. I was in the industry. I know what it takes. I used to have a backup generator that I would call. It was a big Volvo engine, gorgeous piece of equipment. But I'd call them 24 hours in advance when they had something, we had a power failure risk for our systems. And they'd bring it on site, plug it in, and we test it. And we always had power. I don't understand how Comporium lost everything through their whole huge network. I don't understand that.
By the way, they do adjust your billing for that.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, people got reduced rates.
And
A reduced bill for that month. For this month.
let's keep this in mind. Who has lived in this area this long ever thought we'd have to worry about a hurricane?
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
I mean, there are things that they would have never conceived of having to deal with here in the mountains. Also, anybody who is not have running water, by law in North Carolina, that is habitability issues. You do not have to pay rent until while that service is out. Our landlord, this new landlord, is wonderful. They actually informed us of this fact, but I looked it up, and it is a state law. And even if they try to say otherwise in your rental agreement, if this is not habitable, you do not have to pay rent. So running water, if a lot of people they can't even get to their place, and they're complaining that their landlord is expecting rent and they can't even get in to live in it. Nope, they don't have to. So anybody that's in that situation, let them know. And it's not just North Carolina. Most states have this law, but I know North Carolina definitely has it written.
Especially if they're not working during this period.
Yeah. I mean, I require electricity and internet to do my work, and nobody had that in this area. So it's like I've been without work for a couple of weeks now.
Jeez. Yeah.
Couldn't even do my remote Ohio work because I didn't have electricity and internet for a week and a half. But things are getting better, and I will say it annoys me to no end all the misinformation that's out there. FEMA is here, National Guard is here, people from out of state,
out of country, Canada.
They are doing it. Situations like this are where you see people's true nature, and I was happy to find out that the majority of the people have very good natures.
Right.
But of course, there's always somebody who, I mean, I was in Greenville, and these people talking about how bad it is in Asheville. It's like, yeah, it's bad. But, they're saying, FEMA's not doing this. FEMA's not. Yeah, FEMA's doing all this stuff. FEMA's here. We're here. Chimney Rock.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stories about Chimney Rock. Why it's not getting help? The reason it's not getting help, there are no physical roads.
Right. Nothing
in existence anymore. There was a hiker who is authorized for emergency hiking, who walked up to check it out, and it's like, you want to rebuild, you got to have equipment. You can't get equipment up there. They're gonna have to airdrop stuff up there. I don't know how they're gonna get it up there.
Yeah.
So all these people that are saying that it's a political reason, no, it's a physical access issue. I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but it's like they have one picture of this road with all these buildings. The next picture, there's no road or buildings.
Nothing. Yeah.
It's horrendous. Yeah.
No.
So
Well, if you had been in that town, there's the river or whatever it is right there. They've got these big rocks and the water going over it and all that stuff.
Well, as one guy said, he said, in the mountains, you run the roads along the river path. And so you're going to get them flooded. That's the way it is. There was somebody they saw a U-Haul truck floating down the road. They didn't realize until they saw the wipers going, there was somebody in it.
Oh, horrible. Gee.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had friends that saw bodies hoisted up into trees by the waves, and the bodies were still hanging there as they were searching, looking for people. What an awful, gruesome thing to see.
Mm.
Devastating.
If you think about it, we're going to have to make some fundamental decisions, about climate change. I don't know. I'm sitting here looking at the ocean. Pam's beach house is, I'm probably 150 feet from the edge of the ocean, and right now it's low tide. High tide comes, and it comes up now. In the last 2 weeks, it's really grown and come closer to the house. But it's just if you're building roads in the mountains, you're going to have to do it differently. I mean, that washout on 276 was so debilitating to the whole community, to the economy, and they fixed it in 48 hours. The North Carolina DOT did a stellar job getting it back open. But you wonder, the intensity of storms is changing, and the number of them every year may or may not. Who knows? But certainly, we've had evidence in the last 2 weeks of how quickly they can ramp up and change intensity.
My daughter's professor in college was on the recommendation board for I-40, and they didn't listen to him when he said, "Don't build it here. The rocks are leaning towards the road, and it's where they're gonna fall." They've had rock slides for years on that, and I-40, because of the design, a part of I-40 got washed away.
Yep.
It's gonna take me hours longer to get to Ohio this month because I can't go on I-40. And I'm not even sure where I'm going to go because I guess 26 up north towards Tennessee has an issue. But I did drive to Bristol a few days ago, and it was fine going there. It was just slow going because it went through the park and it was one lane. And for some reason, people had a head-on collision on a one-lane road that goes 45 miles an hour.
No. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Well, now that we've got our update on the current events, let's move to technology. So today we're going to talk to a little bit of some things that can help during situations like this. First, we're going to welcome all the members that we have here. I don't think we have any guests today. It looks like everybody's a semi-regular or regular. Our steering committee, Matt Canizio.
Hello.
David Day.
Hello.
Terry Morrow. Terry's apparently still having internet issues, so he's not here today. Ed Sheeran.
Hey.
Jeanne Sparks. If she was there, I'm not sure if she's back. I'm George Wagner. And do we have an update on Bob Wilkerson?
Yes. As of yesterday, he is moving out of that facility where he is now, which was Fletcher Rehab, and he's going to a VA place, either in Asheville or Hendersonville, I believe Asheville. And let me think. Oh yeah, they've taken out the final drain. He's eating regular food. They consider the surgery to have been a success. The only trouble is he has that neuropathy. He's basically a paraplegic at this point. Fletcher Rehab Center, they weren't being paid to rehab him. He was informed that basically they were being reimbursed simply to make sure he never got worse than when he came in through the door, when he went into the place, but no efforts to get him any better because they were being paid just to make him not get any worse. So now that he's going to a VA facility, I believe it's Monday, and I will be going up to visit him tomorrow. if his wife says it's okay. So, the quality of his existence is certainly going to be a lot better at the VA facility than what he's been through this last couple months.
Um,
We'll send them our best, please.
Sure do.
yeah.
So today I'm going to talk about some things that will help you in situations where you have power issues, internet issues, different things where you want to conserve and utilize your phones to the best of their abilities. So I'm going to talk about some power saving tips, some ways to use your phone to share the internet, emergency calls, and dealing with some access issues. First with power saving tips. In the control center, you'll see the little battery icon that has on the left side, there's second from the bottom. That's low power mode. What that does is it shuts down some of the background activities, turns the automatic checks for like email and such, and knocks down the frequency of that. So it's not checking as often, so it's not using power to do that. Changes your screen dimming so it's much more aggressive. And it's basically does a whole slew of things in the background to reduce the amount of power the system uses to do just some of that background stuff. It will increase the longevity of your battery. I turn that on in situations like this, especially since my battery is toast on this phone. But I want to get a new phone, so I'm not going to worry about getting a new battery. But because of that, I will turn low power mode on right away, even when I've got like 90% battery, because my battery dies fairly quickly. This way it slows down that descent. Also, brightness is probably the single biggest drain on your battery.
Really?
So adjust your brightness to the lowest acceptable setting. Don't strain your eyes, but get it just as low as you can and still have everything readable, and that will conserve a lot of power. Okay. If you're in an area where you're not using Wi-Fi or there is not Wi-Fi available, turn Wi-Fi off because it is constantly looking for Wi-Fi networks. And if there aren't any, it's just wasting battery trying to do that. Okay?
George, is that the same as airplane mode?
Well, airplane mode turns off a lot of things, including cellular. So you don't want to necessarily put it in airplane mode because it'll turn off too much.
Okay.
Now, if you're somewhere where you don't have any access to anything, yes, go do airplane mode, and that will conserve battery even more. But you can turn them off individually. Wi-Fi, if you're doing cellular but not Wi-Fi, just turn Wi-Fi off. If you're not connected up to any Bluetooth devices, turn Bluetooth off. Bluetooth is used for a variety of things like AirDrop and such as well, but most likely you're not doing that. And if you are, you can always turn it on at that point.
Okay.
So those will all definitely help reduce your load on your battery. For the most part, apps are not going to drain your battery in the background unless they are tracking location. Okay? There's a couple other activities as well, but location is probably the biggest one. So if you have, for example, your navigation app, you went somewhere, you got there, and you've arrived, you can quit the navigation app so it stops tracking your location because it doesn't know you're done with it, so it's constantly updating where you are. Okay? You can basically quit the app. You don't have to quit all your apps, just those that are doing the location tracking or anything else they may be doing in the background. Okay?
Yeah. George, in this particular case, of course, the weather app was the one that we were depending on.
Yeah. But you can turn off location services and just put your location in manually. That way it's not constantly updating that. And that is another thing. Turning off location services is not necessarily a bad thing if you're not going anywhere, if you don't need it to track where you are. And again, you can always turn it back on.
Hey, George, I don't have anywhere near those, all those buttons on my screen right there. How do you get the rest of those buttons on there?
Are you running 18 or are you running 17?
Probably 17.
Okay. If you go into settings, control center.
Okay.
you'll see two lists, one with green buttons and one with red buttons. Red buttons are the ones that are active, you can turn them off. The ones that are green are ones that are not active, you can turn them off.
Oh, yeah.
The order they are in that list is how they are from left to right on the screen.
Ah,
So if you want one in a particular spot, you just move it up or down the list, and it puts it right where you want it. Because I like a lot of things that I use a lot on the edges.
In 18, there's going to be a lot of customization available, including you can make some of those, you call them buttons, big or small or
Yeah.
whatever. You can rearrange them and everything.
And you can see on the screen that's up right now, the top left there's
There
a
you
plus
go.
sign if you want to add. Okay. If you press and hold, it'll put it in edit mode, and you can there'll be a minus on each one if you want to delete one, if you want to move it around, and there'll be a little corner piece that if it's one that you can make bigger, you can have it be a 1, 2, either right, left, up, down, 4, or an 8. You can see the focus, for example, is a 2 sideways. The volume and brightness are 2s going up and down. The airplane mode, Wi-Fi, and all those is a 4, and the top one, which is my music, is an 8. So basically, I'm taking 8 spots. So I can go in that and I can change that music one to be a 4 if I wanted to. It wouldn't show as much information, but it would still be accessible. And so you can customize this a lot.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about 18 probably next month, but there's a lot of cool things in 18. And I'm running an 11, which is the oldest phone that can run it, and it runs fairly well. But the phone was sluggish in 17, so it's not going to be faster in 18. Worse, it might be a little slower, but it's been overall it's been pretty good speed. All right, so sharing the internet. Now, if you are in a situation where your Wi-Fi is out, you say your Emporium is out, but you have a decent cellular signal, you can turn on personal hotspot. Now, you do need to have a good cellular signal. We did not have here because the towers got knocked down. So I didn't try to share it even when the power came back up. The power came back up like a day and a half before the internet came back, which makes sense because you can't do much testing the internet stuff if you don't have power. But so I really wasn't going to use mine as a hotspot because it wasn't fast to begin with. As a hotspot, it would have been even slower. But what you can do is you can see the personal hotspot on the screen there underneath cellular. And you go in there and you have the allow others to join, turns it on. But before you do that, change the password. The password they have is some gobbledygook high security password. I don't care. It doesn't need to be a tough password. This is not going to be on all the time. I'll turn it on. That easy password, I can type it in and connect up. But you can only change the password while it's off. You set the password and then turn it on. Once it's on, it appears just like any other Wi-Fi connection. You connect up to it and get on the internet. If you have a decent connection, it's palatable. It actually is pretty good. You can use your computer, you can do your iPad, you can do your TV if you want to stream your Netflix on it. If you have unlimited, then it's worth doing. If you're not unlimited, be careful. You'll eat up a lot of data doing that.
Yep.
Now, some of the unlimited plans do not have unlimited hotspot. They have a limit to how much hotspot you can do. If you have a plan that is not unlimited, sometimes you cannot do personal hotspot unless you pay extra.
Right.
Now, usually the extra is when you have unlimited because they don't make any money on you. If you have a plan where you only have 10 gigabytes and you do a hotspot, well, you're using up that 10 gigabytes, you're going to need more memory. They'll make more money on you, so they kind of give it to you for free. So it's a money making process. Okay. So emergency calls. Now, Apple introduced the SOS mode. And you may notice sometimes the phone, instead of saying LTE, says SOS. You're in an area where you have no signal, you can still make emergency phone calls through a satellite connection. Right. That's when you're in the SOS mode. You can call 911. and emergency services from pretty much anywhere. That's wonderful for especially someone who's hiking and such. Now, I've heard rumors that we may see the more access to that than just emergency services. My guess is it will be at a cost, but still that is an option that would be nice to see. So
George, if you have iOS 18, Apple just started the you can send messages via the satellite. I've just put a link in the chat where you had to have iPhone 14 or 15, and and it doesn't cost anything. You can send messages to just about anybody.
and that actually is important for the next one I'm talking about here.
Okay.
Because if you're in an area where you have access for cellular connection like we had here, keep in mind, text is the lowest demand, voice is the next highest demand, data is the highest demand on your cellular connection. So if you have a poor connection, doing something on the internet is going to be horrendously slow. Your voice calls will be okay, but you can make a text. There are times where you can text somebody, but you cannot call them. That's how much there is. And that's because of the design. Texting was put onto what's called their command line, which was their testing mode when they were doing line tests for the cellular. And so it was rock solid because they needed to be able to test it. But it's also very low transmission rate, so it didn't have a high demand. Because of that, sending a text message can be done a lot more simply than doing anything else. Being that iMessage, as wonderful as it is, doesn't use the cellular line, it uses internet. You may have had trouble sending a text message over iMessage because your internet connection wasn't strong enough and it would fail. So what you can do is you can go into the messages settings and uncheck iMessage. You can see that in the middle of the image there, it says iMessage and it's flipped green. Turn that off, all your messages will go over the SMS, MMS messaging. I did that during the week that we had no internet. Now that I'm home, even though the cellular connection is weak, when I do a text message now, or iMessage, I have a good internet at home right now, and it goes over that internet without a problem. But if I were to leave the house and was going to be doing a lot of messaging outside the house, I'd probably go and turn that off again because the cellular connections here are still very weak because they lost some towers. Okay. And that also will bear a little bit on your battery. If it's trying to send a message and failing, it's basically using more battery power to do that. So that will also help with the battery. All right. So that's basically the tips I had for kind of conserving your phone. The only other issue is if you don't have a battery pack, it's probably a good idea to have one just in a situation like this, or if you're going on a hike or going somewhere, having that extra battery power is nice. We had a couple extra battery packs, which saved us not having to go down to the cars often to recharge everything.
Right. George?
Yeah.
I'm holding up my battery pack. It's a RAV4, it's called RAV Power. I think it's got 16,000 milliamps or something on it. I have a bunch of LED stuff around the house, headbands and everything. I fully charge this up every summer because, I expect storms in the summer. And this thing has an indicator on it about how much remains in here. So for using it for 3 days to charge up all my headbands and everything to see, I didn't try to charge up the phone, obviously. There's no phone service. This thing didn't even use 1/10 of what it has. Now, I ordered one with double the capacity the minute I had an internet connection, that and an emergency radio, which I didn't have. They're all lost in Amazon land, so whatever it is. This thing is a lifesaver because those LED things sip power. They use, I guess, practically nothing. Yeah. This one's supposed to be able to charge a phone maybe 6 times and a small iPad twice, but wonderful.
Yeah. LED lights are so low in power, it really is beneficial.
No, this is certainly a great gift idea for any of your friends, I mean, if you're looking for something to give as a gift.
Especially if they live in Asheville.
Livable. the prices have dropped to less than a half or a third of what I paid for it. And once you charge it up, it lasts for years. I check it every summer, and it's the same as the time I left it. It was still got all the power in it.
And what was the brand name, Matt?
Rev
Okay.
Power.
And there's
Thank you.
a couple companies that make cases with built-in battery packs so
Yeah.
that you can actually have your phone with a battery pack without having to carry an external battery pack with you.
Now, what I noticed though, David, was when I went to get another one of these on Amazon,
Yeah.
all the names have changed to the companies.
Oh,
There's one company with 12 names, whatever it is. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
So I could not order this particular one. I ordered something that was twice the size, but they're all being made by the same company or two. So whatever.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah.
Right.
Now, what size is yours?
Let me get the glasses on. I think it's 16,000 milliamps or something. Okay, deluxe series. Capacity 16,750 milliamps.
Matt, what do you call that thing? A battery pack or backup battery or what?
Portable storage. Portable storage pack. Or portable power storage. Yeah. The one I ordered is 36,000. And it's going to be physically twice the size of this. Probably the thickness will be whatever. But they've got a zillion of them out there. They really do. But getting it here is another matter, obviously.
And what you'll want to do is make sure that you're buying one now, that it has the USB-C and the USB
Yeah.
B ports, because
Yeah.
all these new things that come with the USB-C connection.
That's right. Yeah, this one doesn't. I've had it for years. No. But anyway, but the one I ordered does, George. It has two of each, I think.
Yeah.
I picked one up at Walmart. It's 16,000, and it's their Omni brand, and it works great. And it was a little bit less than the ones on Amazon, but Walmart sells their own special brand now called Omni. But their battery pack is great, and I use it a lot.
How many times?
Walk in Walmart and pick it up.
How many times can you recharge your phone with that?
On mine, they said 6 times, but I never used it for that ever. Because we never
Well,
lost service,
I use it to charge my phone with.
Yeah.
How many times can you charge your phone on
I haven't really tested that many times. I
Right.
charge it once or twice, and doing a 8-hour, 12-hour period, and it seems it still holds about half its charge in the
Yeah.
battery pack.
It's hard to say a lot of times because if it's like when I have one, I will plug it in before it's actually low,
Yeah,
to keep it topped up off
Yeah.
the battery pack. So I can't really say how long it would have charged the phone from dead to full. I had one. It was I think it was 10,000, and it charged.
Mhm.
I think it charged my phone probably completely and half again.
Hmm.
Well, I did what Matt was saying he needed to do, and I got a emergency radio. Unfortunately, I didn't think about it until I started looking for one. We had no battery operated radios in the house, so I got one at Amazon for $26, and it's got a lithium battery. I think it's like 8,000 milliwatts. I also got it also has AAA battery backup, solar backup, and a hand crank.
Right.
It was $26, and so it's got everything: an AM band, FM band, and
Yep.
also a National Weather Service band.
Right. That's the one I ordered. That's lost.
It's a great little device.
Yeah.
There we go. Don't need to stare at that screen while talking to each other anymore.
Got a question.
Sure.
If we're on Wi-Fi, should our cellular be turned off or should cellular always be kept on?
Well, if you turn cellular off, then you won't be getting able to get phone calls. You won't get SMS messages. You'll just get things over the internet.
Okay,
So you want to leave it on. But what will happen is the phone will always use Wi-Fi first. But there is an option that if it's turned on, it's called Wi-Fi Assist, and that's where if the signal is wonky, it will use cellular automatically.
okay. And should I have keep roaming on as well?
Yeah, it's not going to really affect your battery too much having that on versus having the whole thing on, and that just increases your chance of finding a decent signal.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple of questions. Has anyone compared the monthly cost of Starlink as compared to Comporium Internet?
I've
Because I
seen a
know
lot of people.
Starlink's being offered at a discount right now.
I've seen a lot of people using it. I haven't heard any feedback yet on cost or quality of work. Just glad
Okay.
they changed the name because originally it was Skylink, which was the name from Terminator.
Okay.
I heard that they are offering discounted during this outage, but you still have to pay for the ground equipment, I believe, which I hear is around $400.
Yeah,
Ah,
one of my clients, it was $350 plus tax. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's it's a lot to pay to go in. The numbers I've heard, Sandy, are around 100 a month, I think. But
That's
it's
what I heard. Yeah.
it's pretty, but it's really fast, and of course it's ubiquitous. So
And you've always got internet.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I've had good luck with Compori, unfortunately, up until this
yeah.
time. And
Okay. I had another question, but I forget what it was.
Ah,
I'll think of it. Okay.
Anybody else?
Oh, I know. We heard pretty soon after we lost our power to go down to Walmart or, Pizza Hut in Brevard. Anyway, they were cell service. And of course, there's a cell tower right there. And I was wondering if it was just because that cell tower was still functioning. Because I
my,
know
under-
we're out.
my understanding was that Verizon brought in a mobile tower and put it in the parking lot of the old Bilo. That's
ah,
Okay.
that's what provided the.
that would have been
cellular.
providing it, yeah.
Okay.
And actually, they did that downtown. So whenever we were downtown, we would sit there and do all those things we needed to do on the internet because we had a strong cellular signal.
Okay. Because Verizon did that in Nashville too.
Yeah, and I think all the carriers did.
Oh,
Mm.
good. Okay.
T-Mobile brought in a truck with power supply and a hotspot here in Weaverville. They were at one of the local stores for several days, several afternoons. It was really, really helpful. I have Verizon and there's a Verizon tower. I can see it out my window. But what I was hearing was that the fiber optic cables were cut. So it wasn't just a question of tower, but the cables.
Mm.
I don't know because I'm not a tech person, but it made sense. But I know
Apparently-
we can see the tower, but we didn't have service for several days.
We had on one block 4 trees on the wire.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, it was a lot of these things were taken out.
What was interesting was when our power went down and everything went down on Friday morning, but by afternoon I was getting political ads nonstop the whole weekend. We couldn't
yeah.
quite figure out, how did the political folks get through, but I couldn't talk to my family.
Well, again, they were probably coming through on the text messages, which is the lowest demand, easiest thing for the system to handle. And you probably are talking to family and friends that were on iMessage, and that was going over the internet, which was was having trouble.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that's where if you in that situation, turning iMessage off, sending a straight text message, you probably would have had more success.
Ah,
You don't, you don't think
Another-
about those things when you just want to send a text
Right.
message.
I got another question. My wife gave me a Apple Watch Series 10 for her birthday. And does it have a similar, I guess, characteristics of the iPhone, where you should keep the power between 20 and 80%? Or usually if it goes down to 10, I'll charge it up to 100%. Or is there any rule of thumb for the Apple Watch as far as charging?
It's kind of an oxymoron because every time you charge a battery, it shortens its life. It only has so many charges in there.
Mhm.
So they say to lengthen the battery's life, you want to let it go as low as possible or even dead and then charge it up completely. But that is not very convenient for use. So
Right.
we tend to basically, take it down to 50 and charge it and, back and forth. And that probably shortens the life on our batteries, but it's much more convenient. So what I would do is let it get down fairly low before you charge it. Don't necessarily top it off constantly, because that will speed up the decline of the battery.
Okay.
I've had my Apple Watch for what, 4 years now, and two different watches, and I've never done anything differently for my watch than I did for my laptop or my iPad. So George is exactly right. This is the technical constraints, but the degradation is so minor over time. I don't think you're going to notice any change. I love the Apple Watch. Congratulations, your wife obviously loves you a lot, because I use it as many as all of our other devices.
David, do you charge your watch during the day or just once at night?
Once at night,
Yeah.
and it would go further. It would go a day and a half, but I think it's just not convenient with my schedule.
But see, that's actually a good way of doing it, because for me, whenever my phone is in my car, it's in a charger.
Yep.
So all
Right.
during the day, it's getting constantly charged, and it's probably killing the battery a lot faster than it would if I just let it go down to 20% and then charge it. But then again, if I'm down to 20% and I'm somewhere where I can't get it charged, that's a problem.
Yep.
So that's why on the phone it's topped off all the time. The watch is designed to last a good full day without any problem, so you can go and charge it once a day and still be good.
Yeah, I was charging it. I found a charge lasts about a day and a half, but so I recently just charging it in the morning while I'm eating breakfast. I charge my watch, which seems to be
Exactly.
convenient to do.
That's
And if you
exactly
wanted
right.
to track your sleep cycles, that's a good way of doing it. When you get in the morning, maybe before you get in the shower, just put it in there, get in the shower, get your
Yeah.
breakfast, and then put it on.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Any
I would
other
like
questions?
to encourage everybody to try that satellite connection, because it does iMessage. It's the Apple satellite, and if you got iPhone 15, 14, or 15, and iOS 18,
Hmm.
all you gotta do is hold it up to the sky and it connects. And
Hmm.
it's really a fabulous feature for Apple.
Wow.
I'm wondering if Apple actually owns their satellite. If they do, I think we may see that as a service for normal connection.
Yeah, I think they do. That's what I read. It's Apple satellite. And
Yeah.
that article I posted in the chat, it tells you how to use it. Very simple process. Just
Hmm.
to turn it on.
Hmm.
And the thing is, they probably are using the Starlink satellite that's the basic traffic level. In other words, the traffic signals go to Starlink, and then Starlink sends us to this Apple satellite in orbit, through the Skylink network, and that communicates with Apple people only. So it should be, if they continue down this path, a separate revenue stream for Apple, and means that all of the phones they sell them will have access. I think it's a great business strategy.
Well, and the reality is, cost-wise, it shouldn't be any more than we're paying for Verizon or T-Mobile or whoever, and we should not need that carrier any longer.
That's right.
Yeah, I foresee Apple becoming a carrier. I'm surprised they're not already a bank.
I talked to him the other day about that. This new ordering process for the iPhone requires that if you want to get any kind of financing from Apple, that you buy the phone and you're buying the phone through them, you have to set up your account with one of the big four people. And I told Apple, I said, I don't want to do that. I said, I like consumer cellular. I'm saving lots and lots of money. And I'm not about to buy a phone and then have to set up with AT&T or Verizon or one of these other guys. And the specialist told me, he said, it's not like we're trying to not become a bank. I asked him that question, are you guys trying to get out of the financing business? And he said, no. But he said, if you order these and then choose Boost Mobile, the phone will come to you unlocked. And you can do whatever you want with it at that point. So that's how I'm gonna solve that issue. But yeah, all the things are in place for them to become a carrier. Yeah.
So basically, you just have to order it as a Boost phone, but not necessarily have a Boost account.
Exactly. Well, yeah, Boost thinks you're gonna activate it, but you just don't activate it. And Consumer Cellular gives me instructions on how to activate an unlocked phone, and that's exactly what I'll do. Otherwise, you get tied into. For example, you can get the iPhone 18, 16, whatever it is, through Verizon for 1 penny, but then you got to sign a 3-year contract that's uncancelable. And if you cancel, then you owe them everything for the phone. So it's not a good deal. It's a way for them to trap people into their contracts.
So any other questions? Well, I guess that is it for this month. Hopefully next month we'll go back to the in-person if everything's back to quasi-normal.
Yep.
But thanks for coming, everybody. And
Thank you, George.
look forward to seeing everybody next month.
Thanks, George.
Stay safe.
Thanks again.
Take care, everyone.
Take
Bye,
care,
everyone.
Hope you
Bye-bye.
get water. Bye.
Yeah.